afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamie MacDonald. I'm the Executive Director of the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency, as well as the newly elected Vice Chair of the Executive Climate Change Coordinating Council, or as we say to honor all of the C's, the EC4. In a little while, I'll talk about both of those hats, but I also want to take a moment to acknowledge our Chair of EC4, Janet Coit, who's our DEM Director. Janet's away on vacation, but I want to take a moment just to acknowledge her leadership and dedication to climate change, and I'm thrilled to represent her and the entire council here today. Thank you. Thank you very much to everyone joining us. It's incredible to see such a diversity in our crowd. We've got congressional, we've got state, local elected officials, both appointed. I want to acknowledge some today that aren't speaking. We've got Representative Ferry, Craven, Ruggiero, and Tanzi from our House of Representatives. We also have Grover Fugate and Steve Hartford, two of our cabinet directors who have participated on the council. Welcome and thank you for being here. We have environmental advocates, clean energy, public health, and business people, which sends such a strong message on how committed Rhode Island is to this issue. As you know, this is an important event. The legislation and Rhode Island's approach is getting national attention. We are not debating climate change. We are focusing on what we can do about it. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions, getting better at preparing, recovering, and adapting. In other words, we are becoming more resilient. North Kingstown is the perfect location for this event, a community that has been proactive about dealing with climate change and is setting an example. To say a few words on their commitment to action, I would now like to introduce the North Kingstown Town Council President, Elizabeth Dolan. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Liz Dolan and I'm President of the North Kingstown Town Council. And I'll start by acknowledging my colleagues that I see. I see Councilwoman Houston, I see Councilman Maloney, and if my other colleagues are out there, it's because I don't have my glasses. And I want to acknowledge Town Manager Mike Embry and particularly our Planning Director John Reiner. Welcome to our beautiful town beach. And it's August and it's a bathing suit day, but next year, you never know, we might need parkas and boots. With that dilemma in mind, excuse me, we are here to thank Governor Chafee and his staff, statewide planning, the teaching and professional staff at the University of Rhode Island and RISD for the collaborative efforts that have resulted in the creation of the new Climate Change Commission and the identification of specific goals with respect to addressing climate change challenges. We respectfully thank our federal and our state representatives as well for providing guidance, support, and leadership on this important issue. I'm particularly proud to thank our own Planning Director, John Reiner, and his staff for their dedication, energy, and expertise that has let North Kingstown take the statewide lead as a pilot community for progressive thinking and long-range planning. We in North Kingstown are very aware of the impacts of hurricanes and winter storms and resulting erosion. With the town now moving forward with the sewering of Wickford in the very near future, we will need to incorporate innovative planning, factoring in the evolving effects of climate change on our development and our growth. Again, thank you all for being here, and those of you who have contributed to this effort, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, President Dolan. I also want to point out we have Senator Rumsey with us today and Senator Golden. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate all the important work that North Kingstown is doing and the representation that they had at our EC3, which is actually one less C than we're celebrating today. The Executive Climate Change Council, or the EC3 as it was formerly known, was created by our governor via executive order in February. The governor's executive order recognizes that climate change is real, that Rhode Island will be impacted, and its state agencies have a critical role to play. 9 agency heads were appointed and directed to coordinate efforts that increase our understanding of impacts, reduce impacts to the extent possible, and develop strategies to withstand and adapt to impacts that cannot be avoided. The Council developed a preliminary report based on the work that was previously done, as well as new information and presentations by various experts. We submitted the final version to the Governor in June, which was titled A Resilient Rhode Island, Being Practical About Climate Change. It includes an action plan that begins with lead by example. What are actions that state government can do to demonstrate our commitment? The council members have just begun, but I want to share with you what our experience has been so far. We have learned how serious the challenge is that we are facing, the impacts of our infrastructure, businesses, neighborhoods, public health, and that we need to be prepared. We have learned that climate change is here already, as the council president mentioned, and that some cities and towns are already struggling to deal with the impacts from more frequent and more intense storms. We have learned from the cities and towns what they need from us, but also how they are our front line and we need to work together to develop programs and strategies. We have also learned how important our universities and their affiliated centers and programs are, both in making sure we have the best available science and technical information to work with, but also to provide outreach and technical assistance to our cities and towns. And most importantly, we have grown even stronger in our appreciation for the leadership provided by the governor. And now, the General Assembly telling us to incorporate climate change in the way that we do business as agencies, to do what we can in each agency to meet the goals set out by this legislation, and also to shift more to coordinating with each other and to collaborate with cities and towns in our private sector. I strongly believe the governor deserves credit both for putting together a strong team and for giving the team a clear vision with a strong executive order, which we are all grateful for, the General Assembly codifying so that our momentum and work can continue. It is my privilege to introduce Governor Lincoln Chafee.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie, very much. As you know, Jamie is the Executive Director of the Emergency Management, and so she has to deal with this extreme weather and the storms as a result of climate change. So she's on the front lines. Thank you, Jamie, very much. It's great to be here in North Kingstown. Right around the corner here, a year ago, believe it or not, there was a tsunami, right, President Dolan, in Wickford Cove. And all the boats that were tied up to the docks, all of a sudden the water just rose and chocks were popping and cleats were popping, and people going, what's going on? And around the corner further up north at Allen Harbor, no one saw anything. So extreme weather is here, and it happened just with a little tsunami right around the corner in Wickford Harbor. And we want to prepare for that. We know it's occurring. We know it's as a result of human activity. And so we're taking action here in Rhode Island. And I'd like to thank the General Assembly members who stepped up with great legislation. Behind me is the banner that says, Working Together for a Resilient Rhode Island. And the definition of resilience in the dictionary is, listen to this carefully, the capability of a strained body to recover its size and shape after deformation caused especially by comprehensive stress. All these things are happening because of climate change, and we want to regain our size and shape after this deformation caused by tsunamis, hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes. They're all occurring with increasing frequency. We want to prepare. So this is great legislation. I look forward to signing it. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the king of climate change, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse.
Oh, how sweet it is to be home and with people who aren't denying that this is happening. Let me first thank and commend the governor for his leadership. Many years ago, a predecessor of ours in the Senate, Theodore Francis Green, had done something to annoy one of his colleagues. And to get a dig in on T.F. Green, the colleague said, "So Theodore, how big is that little state of yours anyway?" And Green looked coolly back at him and said, "Well, that would depend, wouldn't it?" And the other senator had no idea what to say back. He was completely flummoxed. And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" And Green looked at him and said, "Well, high tide or low tide?" Very good. So it matters to us when this sea right here is now 10 inches higher than when it was when the hurricane of 1938 struck. And we're a little state already. We don't need to be losing any more of our geography to the sea. And the ability to prepare for what is coming is something that Rhode Island has shown real leadership in. So I'm thrilled to be here with President Liz Dolan and her fellow members of the Town Council, with Representatives Craven and Ferry, and Tansy. Pause for Art Handy, who wrote the legislation. Congratulations and thank you. And Senators Cool, Rumsey, and Golden, and Conley. And I'm particularly glad that Grover Fugate is here and Ann Livingston, because CRMC has been so forward-looking and sensible about preparing for this. I see Representative Ruggieri here as well. Actually, it wasn't on my list. I'm sorry, Deb. You've been wonderful. I really appreciate it. President Dooley, it takes science to really get this right, and URI has been absolutely essential. You've been such a wonderful partner to the CRMC in the ocean SAMP and now in the beach SAMP. It's really been terrific, and as I said, Governor Chafee has just been phenomenal. He was a leader on this when it was very unpopular for him to be with his party in the Senate, and he's been a practical leader here at home. Now, I missed one senator, and that's because I get to introduce her now, and that is the wonderful Susan Sosnowski.
Well, good afternoon. I am very pleased to join all of you today as Rhode Island takes the next step to strongly position ourselves for the climate challenges ahead. We know that our state, the ocean state, is among those particularly vulnerable to the effects of climate change. My Senate district is feeling the impact already. However, our state is also well positioned to become a global leader as we build upon the efforts we have been working on for many years. We already are a leader in energy efficiency and have shown that wise investments such as this can not only conserve energy but save consumers money at the same time. Our renewable energy laws have been cited as national models. The density of Rhode Island's world-class institutions of higher learning positions us to succeed, as they will play a key role in determining how to best prepare and transform our policies. The University of Rhode Island has worked for years on initiatives which will help guide our future, such as the Ocean SAMP and the Beach SAMP. Brown students, educators, and policy experts worked on this legislation, and Roger Williams University and all of Rhode Island's colleges and universities are important partners in this process. Rhode Island is also fortunate to have tremendous leadership on the climate change issue. At the invitation of the Environment and Agriculture Committee, Senator Whitehouse addressed the Rhode Island Senate on climate change earlier this year. He is a national leader on climate change issues, and Congressman Langevin has sponsored legislation to encourage energy efficiency and to strengthen Rhode Island's voice on the Mid-Atlantic Fisheries Council. DEM Director Janet Coit chaired the Executive Climate Change Council, which earlier this year issued the recommendations consistent with the legislation being signed today. And as we know, our CRMC is a national leader in adaptation science and planning. Locally, the communities of North Kingstown and Newport have both applied for federal dollars to bolster a whole new segment of our economy called the resilience sector. This is a new dimension to existing jobs as we develop improved methods of building, planning, and growing. A study by Environmental Business International Incorporated found that climate change adaptation was a $700 million industry in the United States in 2013. And it's anticipated to grow $1 billion by 2016. The global market was $2 billion in 2013. This economic sector is in its early planning stage, but the report notes real opportunity exists for expertise in analysis, risk sciences, planning, design, engineering, construction, and a host of other services. And I see Rhode Island is well poised to be a leader in climate change mitigation and a job creator. I want to thank Governor Chafee for his leadership on this issue, Senator Connolly for his hard work on the legislation, Chairman Handy, and our colleagues, Senator Cool Rumsey and Senator Gail Golden, who are also on the Environment Committee and work very hard on this legislation. And I am pleased to introduce the sponsor of the legislation in the Senate. In his first term, he has advanced significant laws to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, including this bill, as well as the law to help homeowners invest in renewable energy. It is my pleasure to introduce Senator William Conley.
I hope you can hear me because I'm not sure you can see me. I really can't see you, but anyway, I want to thank Chairman Sosnowski very much. It was a real privilege to work with you and your committee not only on this bill, but all the important environmental issues that we've addressed in committee and through the Senate in my first session and my first term. And I want to thank my two office mates, Senator Rumsey and Senator Golden, who are here. You know, we share an office space 308, and we have a saying, what 308 wants, 308 gets, and we wanted a climate change bill. I also want to thank Governor Chafee for his leadership. His executive order really set the model for this legislation. And I want to thank Senator Whitehouse for being a leader on the national level on this issue. And it's really a privilege to work with him as well. You know, to accomplish something like this, it takes a lot of team effort. And as I look out, I see a lot of the faces that work so hard on this legislation, and it was a pleasure to work with them, and your enthusiasm was inspiring. And I learned a lot from you, and I want to thank you very much for all your hard work. You know, I am convinced that not only is climate change good because of the value that it has in protecting our environment, but what's good for the environment is good for the economy. And as we implement the principles of resiliency and adaptation in Rhode Island, we will see not only the environmental benefit, but the economic benefit as well. And I look forward to working with all of you going forward to make sure that happens. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Chair Arthur Handy, who was obviously instrumental and the leader in this, but I do want to say one thing. Chairman, when you called me last summer about working with you on this bill, I had no idea it would end with the two of us coming to the beach on a Friday afternoon. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Connolly. And actually, again, it's because of his work and excitement about the PACE bill, the Property Access Clean Energy bill that Senator Sosnowski mentioned, that I knew that Senator Connolly would be a great partner over in the Senate to work on this this legislation. And a lot of folks have already done a great job, I think, at recognizing many of the folks out here along the way. I do want to make a specific recognition to the folks at Brown that have worked with me, Professor Timmons Roberts and Meg Kerr and Ken Payne and all of the many awesome interns that were working with them over the course of really from the fall all the way till now, which is unusual for me with interns. If folks have a sense of it, usually they start like kind of late January, mid-February, and then they end like late April, and I'm like, I got to get the bills passed. But these guys were with me all the way through, or actually rotating teams of them, and it was really really inspiring for me, as Senator Connolly said, to see them and their energy. It kept me moving, kept me excited to keep on moving about it. But really, to me, the success of this bill, the success of passing it, but also the success we're going to see looking forward is really out in front of me right here today. There's people from the business sector, people from all sectors of government, at all levels of government here. There's folks from the nonprofit sector, Save the Bay and Sierra Club and other environmental groups, and also other groups like the landscaper, the green. I never get your exact. RINLA, the Rhode Island Nursing and Landscape Association, for example, as an example, but also, again, a great champion for this type of thing. So I think, again, that this is the sort of, again, as I keep looking around, I keep spotting somebody new. I'm seeing the president of my Chamber of Commerce. I saw Paul from Newport, who's the executive director, the EDC director there, that's really talked a lot about the economic benefits. But I really, again, I think... and actually, I think having Jamia be the MC for it in a lot of ways makes the most sense, because really the resilience piece of this is how we help folks get to the next stage. When you talk about 2050, it's very difficult for people to really get there. We're anecdotal beings. We tend to think of things that we can see and feel and touch and understand. And frankly, it is hard to think out to 2050. But instead, if we can say we're going to help, we need to start doing things to make sure that help protect ourselves from storms, help protect ourselves from extreme weather, making sure that our grandmother or our mother or father, whatever, in a nursing home when the power goes out is not going to be in a disastrous place with no air conditioning and 95 degrees. Those kinds of things, we help people understand those, and as we do that, we slowly, again, I think, continue to help move folks to understand what we're talking about to the 2050 point along the way. And I think a lot of the planning really, there's been a lot of great work already. Much of it I didn't even know about across many state agencies. What I'm excited about with this new law is that it is going to knit a lot of those things together, help people know what the left and right hand are doing, and they're both doing great things, but to see them both together. Anyway, so I'm really excited about this. It is something on different fronts I've been working on in different ways for a long time, and so I'm so excited and so appreciative of what the governor and his staff did this year in doing that executive order, because it really did an incredible job of setting the stage for what we're about to finish off today. So again, thank you, Governor Chafee, and thank you to everyone here along the way. Oh, and I've got one more. I remember I have one more introduction. I do want to mention too, higher ed. I think is going to be critical, and I'm so excited. That's the entity I forgot to mention within the equation here. So again, President Dooley, I'm excited about your role and your organization's role. And come on up.
Thank you, Art. Absolutely appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I think the University of Rhode Island, as the public land and sea grant university of the state, has had a long and I think important role in helping the state plan for and adapt to change. And that will be a continuing role and an important one for the University of Rhode Island. We're very excited by the creation of EC4. We're very excited to be a part of working with a whole group of partners, I think, to help Rhode Island become more resilient. As some of you know, I serve on the Academic Advisory Council for the Department of Homeland Security, and I can assure you that resiliency in the face of climate change is considered by the department and many others within our government as a critically important part of Homeland Security. And we would ignore that, I think, at our peril. So it is, I think, a great thing once again for Rhode Island to step out, take a leadership position, and to say that we're going to deal with the consequences of climate change. We are going to plan to be a resilient state, and we are going to work together, education, government, the private sector, the public sector, nonprofits, to make that true here. And I thank you, Governor, for your leadership, you representatives and senators, for your leadership, the advocacy on the part of many out here in the audience to make today happen. We're all here to celebrate together. And I can tell you that it is a good place to be, to have, to be working with people who believe what science says about this and who accept and act upon the data. And that's what we're really here at the University of Rhode Island to help you do, is to give you the data, to give you the analysis, to help you plan how to cope with the changes that can be predicted and that we can anticipate having to deal with. And that will be an active part of the University of Rhode Island's work going forward. It will involve students ranging from landscape architecture who are actually working with the town of North Kingstown and the village of Whitford to think about planning proactively for the rise of Narragansett Bay and on other aspects of climate change, to ocean engineering, to the Coastal Resources Center, to all of the scientists and policy experts at the university. We are committed to doing our part to helping Rhode Island gain in resiliency, to improve its infrastructure, to plan proactively for the future, and to manage the consequences of the changes that we know with a high degree of confidence are coming our way. So thank you very much to each and every one who participated in making this day.
Thank you so much to everyone. We're now going to move to the table to sign, but I also want to point out President Dolan and President Dooley mentioned the work that's happening. John Reiner, where are you? Everyone should talk to John Reiner about all the awesome things that he's doing in the city of North. Thank you. So if we can have everyone join us at the table for the signing, any of the members of the council, if you could also come forward, and we will sign this historic legislation.
It was a pretty tall podium. The microphone. This is the house. So this is Art Handy. Art Handy, where's Art? Congratulations, Art. Yeah, good work. I know you worked on it a long time. Congratulations. And Sue Sosnowski. who so eloquently talked about the connection of climate change and the economy. Congratulations, Sue. It's so important, your words about linking those two. We can benefit economically from what is happening in our climate. Sue, congratulations. And Bill Conley, who no sooner stepped foot in the Senate and things happen.